quiet my soul, 'cause you're teaching me how to slow down.
Good morning, River House. Pastor Jordan here. Last Friday, I opened up this question around discipline and religiosity, and how do I know if I'm being religious in implementing, disciplined practice and structures in my spiritual life with God. And I want to talk today about another activity and posture of the heart that actually can safeguard us from falling into religiosity and religious patterns in our walk with God. Psalm 37 verse 4 says, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart." Right, so delight yourself in the Lord. This is a warm, fuzzy verse. It's a verse we love to quote. It's a verse that we've all probably heard. But practically, there's a command that we're being given to delight yourself in the Lord. And we actually have to learn. We have to partner with this scripture to learn what it means to delight ourselves in the Lord. And delight is an expression of Sabbath. I believe that Psalm 37 verse 4, really it's a Sabbath promise. It's a Sabbath posture of heart that we're being commanded to enter into. And so Sabbath actually destroys religiosity. Delight is something that if exercised in our lives, safeguards us and actually insulates us from the effect of religiosity. So we can exercise discipline in our walk with God and be very disciplined in certain things. But if we are in touch with the delight of our hearts, which is actually what Sabbath produces when we use and are faithful to Sabbath, we can exercise discipline, but we can insulate the discipline from becoming religious with delight. Right? So delight is an expression of Sabbath. And Sabbath is not just a cease striving. It's not just don't work. Right? Sabbath is a call unto delight. It's a call unto play. What brings us joy, things that are life-giving, things that are refreshing. Right? So instead of working and laboring and giving, right? Sabbath are days and times where we should actually be refreshed, where we should be receiving and being filled, not emptying. If you think of like a gas tank, right? Like gas tank, on the days when we're driving, the tank is getting lower and lower and lower, but there's a lot of things that are being produced. There's a lot of movement. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of work. There's productivity, right? But on days of Sabbath, it's when the tank is being refilled, right? And it's not so much about if we're being static, if we're sitting on a couch, if we're watching. It's not so much about what we're doing as much as what's happening on the inside of us. Are we being filled up, right? And delight is that filling. When we are in a place of delight, a posture of delight, an activity of delight, our souls are being filled, right? And so we're commanded in the scripture to delight yourself in the Lord. And I ran across this question years ago, and it stuck with me. And it says, how can you delight yourself in the Lord if you don't know what brings your heart delight? And I was reading this document that was on this verse, and these individuals were talking about how they found delight through walking in nature and looking at the birds or being in the outdoors. And some people find delight through sport and activity and movement, right? Some people find delight in their garden beds. Some people find delight doing creative writing. Some people find delight, cooking or whatever it may be, right? But when you delight yourself and you actually experience delight on times of Sabbath and rest and play, right? You're getting in touch with desire. You're getting in touch with the joy of your soul. And that actually is powerful in our relationship with God, because how am I going to delight myself in the Lord if I don't know how to have delight and be delighted in and be delightful, right? And all these beautiful aspects of joy in being human. Right, so when we're in touch with delight, it insulates us from religiosity. Right, it destroys ultimately religion in our lives, and it allows us to be very disciplined in the 6 days of work, But when we have times of delight, it creates this rhythm that though we can be disciplined, we're not veering into religiosity because delight protects us. Sabbath keeps us, it insulates us from veering into this hard, rigid relationship with God that's all about our performance. Delight liberates us from performance. It liberates us from having to produce because it's about play. It's about refreshing. It's about being filled. So, River House, this morning, I urge you, delight yourself in the Lord, and He'll give you the desires of your heart. Make a plan with God, right? Look at your life and see, is there Sabbath? Are there rhythms of delight and things and activities that are refreshing and refilling that you're doing regularly, right? Sabbath is not about not working, time out, don't do anything. It's about resting from the work and the productivity and the things that drain the tank and engaging in activities that are life-filling and refreshing and just rejuvenating. So bless you in this day. Process with the Lord. Ask Him, what do you need to do? And don't feel guilty about it. That guilt and condemnation that wants to come about you investing time and resources and energy in things that bring you joy and delight, that's religiosity. Say no to that. Press through that and fulfill the command to delight yourself in the Lord.
'Cause you're teaching me how to slow